Getting access denied when you try to upload to S3? I'll show you why and fix it in under a minute. Have you ever wondered why the same bucket lets one user upload but blocks another, even though both have similar roles? By the end of this video, you will know the exact permission that is missing and how to add it without opening any security holes. First, picture the exam scenario. You are given an EC2 instance that runs a backup script. The script tries to write logs to a bucket called logs archive. The instance uses an IAM role named backup worker. When you run the script, the console shows an access denied error. The question asks you to choose the minimal change that will allow the upload to succeed while keeping the bucket private. This is a classic test of understanding the interaction between IAM policies, bucket policies, and encryption key policies. Let us walk through the architecture. The EC2 instance is in a private subnet. It does not have any static credentials. Instead, it relies on the role attached to the instance profile. The roles policy grants permission to put objects into any bucket that matches the logs archive name. On the bucket side, there is a bucket policy that restricts who can write objects. The policy allows the account root and a specific IAM user, but it does not mention the role. That is why the request fails. If you look at the diagram, you can see the line from the instance to the bucket passing through the IAM evaluation engine. The engine first checks the role's permissions, then the bucket policy. Both must allow the action. The role is fine, but the bucket blocks the request. So the missing piece is an explicit statement in the bucket policy that permits the backup worker role to put objects. Now we add that statement. In the console, you would edit the bucket policy and insert a principal that references the role's ARN. You would also set the action to allow object uploads. The effect is to tell S3 that any request coming from that role is trusted. After you save the policy, the script runs again and the upload succeeds. The exam expects you to recognize that the minimal change is to update the bucket policy, not the role. This demonstrates that you understand the principle of least privilege across both sides of the permission check. You might think that the role's permission alone is enough. Are you sure you have granted the right permission? Many candidates forget that S3 also evaluates the bucket's own policy. Even if the role can put objects, the bucket can still deny the request. That is a common gotcha. Another subtle issue is when the bucket uses server-side encryption with a customer-managed key. In that case, the key policy must also allow the role to use the key for encryption. If the key policy blocks the role, you will still see access denied. But the error message will mention the encryption key. In our scenario, the bucket does not enforce that encryption, so we can ignore it. However, on the exam, you might see a similar question that adds that extra layer. Remember to check the key policy if the bucket requires it. There is one more twist that often trips people up. Some buckets have a public access block setting that overrides any bucket policy, allowing public rights. In our case, the block is turned on for public ACLs only, which does not affect the role because it is an internal principle. If the block were set to deny all public access, it would not stop the role either. But if the bucket policy tried to grant access to an anonymous principal, the block would prevent it. That is why the exam sometimes includes a distractor answer that suggests disabling the public access block. The correct approach is always to keep the block enabled and add the precise role permission. Let us recap the steps. First, confirm that the instance role includes the PutObject permission for the target bucket. Second, examine the bucket policy for any missing principal statements. Third, add a statement that allows the role to upload objects. Fourth, verify that no other controls such as encryption key policies or public access blocks are interfering. When you follow these steps, the access denied error disappears and the backup script works as intended. The key takeaway is that S3 permissions are evaluated on both sides. Both the IAM policy and the bucket policy must grant the action. Adding the minimal bucket policy statement resolves the issue while preserving the bucket's privacy. Now you have the exact fix for the exam question and for real-world scenarios. Remember to always check both policies before assuming a role is sufficient. This habit will save you time on the test and in production. If this explanation helped you, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more cloud certification walkthroughs. Drop your questions in the comments. I want to hear them.